Good morning and welcome to Business Buzz. Coming up, Nigerian shares slip at the close of the week as the all share index eased from record territory. Oil holds near $100 a barrel as tensions between the United States and Iran deepen. The Dangote refinery closes Africa's largest private share sale ahead of a landmark listing. And President Tinubu signs a new order to bring Nigeria's booming digital asset market under coordinated oversight. I am Louisa Asidi. Stay with us. Welcome back. We begin with the markets where Nigerian equities ended the week on a softer note. On Friday, the all-share index shelled 474 points to close at 247,357. Market capitalization fell by 305.8 billion naira to end the day at 159.59 trillion naira. CNIF led the gainers, raising the daily maximum of 10%, followed by Leasing and Cornerstone Insurance. On the losing side, Presco topped the losers, falling 10% to 2,070 naira. The mild pullback suggests investors taking profit after a strong run rather than a shift in sentiments. Now to oil, where prices remain close to $100 a barrel. Brent crude eased by around 3% on Friday to trade near $98, but was still heading for a weekly gain of almost 11% as the conflict between the United States and Iran continued to escalate. American forces have carried out a 13th consecutive night of strikes on Iranian targets, and President Trump has said he is considering a larger attack, while disruption in the Red Sea and around the Strait of Hormuz has rebuilt a sizable risk premium into the market. For Nigeria, higher crude prices lift export earnings, but they also raise imported producers. The number of active oil and gas drilling rigs in the United States fell by one this week to 587, even as crude prices held well above year-ago levels. Analysts note that Africa's biggest producers, Nigeria and Angola, are expected to struggle to raise output over the next 5 years as they rank low among the investment priorities of the major oil companies. However, this constraint limits Nigeria's ability to fully capitalize on today's stronger prices. We will go on a break, and when we come back, more Business Buzz.
Alongside Iyede and Owe, we are like one people. We all migrated from Benin and settled in Iyede. If a king passes on, the Ikegwas, they will cease to be. Bemevo is a patrilineal society, not matrilineal. When any sitting Odio passes on, the 8 days that is next, they already know themselves.
We do not know if there are still festivals in Imevo Kingdom or everything has been modernized.
There is a place we call Mupedion. You are not supposed to lie there.
When Governor Sheriff defected, he said his defection was to connect Delta State to the center. Would you say that Imevo has been connected to the center so far?
Governor Sheriff has already sold himself to my people and to Deltans.
I should call you an encyclopedia of knowledge.
Let's just say you didn't add lawyer. I'm a qualified lawyer too. What we want is more infrastructure. Everyone welcomes the world for investment.
and industry captains to the Delta State Economic and Investment Summit 2026, themed Harnessing Our Strengths and Unlocking Our Potentials. Chief guest of honor, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON. Keynote speaker, Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, GCON. Guest speaker, renowned scholar, Professor Patrick Lumumba. Chairman of the occasion, Engineer Austin Avuru. Other distinguished local and international participants will also be in attendance. Date, August 3 to 5, 2026. Time, 10 a.m. daily. Venue, Dome Event Center, Asaba. Chief host, His Excellency, Right Honorable Sheriff Obrewori, Governor, Delta State. Announcer, Dr. Kingsley Emu, Secretary to Delta State Government and Chairman Planning Committee.
Welcome back. Now to corporate news and a milestone for African capital markets. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery has confirmed the closing of a $2.5 billion private share placement, the largest disclosed primary equity raise on the continent, ahead of a public listing that bankers expect to be Africa's biggest ever. The placement was almost 4 times oversubscribed, valuing the refinery at roughly $40 billion, with an initial public offering targeted for as early as September on the Nigerian exchange. Proceeds will help fund an expansion. Now turning to trade and a significant development from Washington. The United States has imposed a 12.5% tariff on imports from Nigeria as part of a new measure targeting economies it says has failed to prohibit goods produced with forced labor. Countries that have adopted forced labor import bans, including India, Mexico, and the United Kingdom, face a lower 10% rate. The measure raises the cost of Nigerian goods entering the American market and adds pressure on Abuja to strengthen its labor and trade standards. Meanwhile, an early assessment suggests the damage may be contained. The Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise says the tariff is unlikely to significantly hurt Nigeria because crude oil, gas, and other petroleum products, which make up more than 80% of exports to the United States, are exempt. The center notes that the United States is the only Nigeria's 5th largest export destination, accounting for around 5.5% of total exports. However, it warns that some agricultural and manufacturing exporters could still lose competitiveness in the American markets. It's time now for a second break. When we return, we'll look at Nigeria's fixed income markets. Welcome back. Looking at Nigeria's fixed income market, where the month's borrowing program continues. The Central Bank of Nigeria will auction 700 billion naira in treasury bills on Wednesday, the third and final primary sale for July, with 500 billion naira offered on the one-year instrument. Recent auctions have been marked by overwhelming demand for the longer-dated bill, where the stop rate last settled at just under 17.7%. However, investors will be watching to see whether rates continue their gentle drift lower. Meanwhile, new central bank data points to rising liquidity in the economy. Nigeria's broad money supply climbed to 133.25 trillion naira in June, up just over 3% on the month, even with interest rates held at 26.5%. Credit to the private sector also rose, reaching 83.3 trillion naira, a 2.8% increase from May. Analysts, however, caution that this expansion could make it harder for the central bank to contain inflation, keeping pressure on policymakers to hold rates high. Now to a landmark policy shift in financial technology. President Tinubu has signed an executive order establishing a Virtual Assets Council to coordinate oversight of digital assets across the country's financial, revenue, capital markets, and security institutions. This move follows years of rapid adoption where Nigeria ranked second global in Africa since 2019. The framework aims to project consumers and build a taxable base while marking Nigeria's shift from restriction to constructed regulation. It's time now for another break. Still to come, a look at one of Nigeria's largest cement producers. Welcome back. Now to company results, where there was a strong first half for one of Nigeria's largest cement producers. BUA Cement recorded a net foreign exchange gain of 16.57 billion naira in the first half of 2026, reversing a heavy loss the year before, helped by a more stable exchange rate. The improvement cut net finance costs sharply, and the company is progressing with plans to lift installed capacity from 17 to 20 million tons a year, including a new plant in Edo State. The results illustrate how Naira stability is beginning to ease pressure on corporate balance sheets. Turning to tax policy, where the federal government has inaugurated an inter-ministerial committee to draft a new value-added tax modification order, part of the country's biggest tax overhaul in decades, and zero-rated goods. This will be a clarity on exemption matters directly from manufacturers and importers, shaping production costs and consumer prices. Moving on to the global picture, global foreign direct investment rose 6% last year to $1.6 trillion, with developing economies attracting just over $901 billion, according to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. The gains, however, were concentrated in high-income economies, and Nigeria's own foreign direct investment fell sharply in the first quarter to around $135 million. The figures underline the challenge of converting short-term inflows into long-term productive capital. Meanwhile, there is good news in the renewable energy sector, which is a first for the Nigerian manufacturing sector. Nigeria has begun exporting locally assembled solar panels to Ghana as the Rural Electrification Agency works to expand domestic solar manufacturing capacity to 3.7 gigawatts by 2027. The agency says its renewable energy funding portfolio has grown to $1.23 billion. This is a good signal that Nigeria could become a regional hub for clean energy equipment. Let's take one more break, and when we come back, more Business Buzz.
We, Imevo, alongside Iyede and Owe, we are like one people. We all migrated from Benin and settled in Iyede. If a king passes on, the Ikegwas, they will cease to be. Imevo is a patrilineal society, not matrilineal. When any sitting audio passes on, the days that is next, they already know themselves.
We do not know if there are still festivals in Imevo Kingdom or everything has been modernized.
There is a place we call Mupedion. You are not supposed to lie there.
When Governor Sheriff defected, he said his defection was to connect Delta State to the center. Would you say that Imevo has been connected to the center so far?
Governor Sheriff has already sold himself to my people and to Deltans.
I should call you an encyclopedia of knowledge.
Let's just say you didn't add lawyer. I'm a qualified lawyer too. What we want is more infrastructure. Imevo welcomes the world for investment.
The Delta State government invites business leaders, global investors, policymakers, and industry captains to the Delta State Economic and Investment Summit 2026, themed Harnessing Our Strengths and Unlocking Our Potentials. Chief guest of honor, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON. Keynote speaker, Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, GCON. Guest speaker, renowned scholar, Professor Patrick Lumumba. Chairman of the occasion, Engineer Austin Avuru. Other distinguished local and international participants will also be in attendance. Date, August 3 to 5, 2026. Time, 10 a.m. daily. Venue, Dome Event Center, Asaba. Chief host, His Excellency, Right Honorable Sheriff Obrewori, Governor, Delta State. Announcer, Dr. Kingsley Emu, Secretary to Delta State Government and Chairman Planning Committee.
Welcome back. Looking at the industry reports indicates that an industry group is moving to boost indigenous electric vehicle development in Nigeria. The details, however, remain limited, but the push aligns with wider efforts to build local manufacturing and reduce dependence on imported vehicles, the country's clean energy ambitions. And finally, a sad note on food security. There is a warning from analysts at FuseNet who project that close to 17 million Nigerians may face acute hunger by January 2027. This projection reflects the human cost of persistent inflation, insecurity in farming regions, and rising production costs. It is a reminder that behind the market numbers, food affordability remains the country's most pressing economic challenge. This is all we have for you today on Business Buzz. I am Louisa Asidi. Thank you for watching.